Welcome to Money Lifestyle with the ever delightful Steffi, who is here interrogating our special guest, Jim Mellon, who is chairman of Burnbury. How are you today, Jim?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, well, one of your recent topics, apart from the financial markets, has been aging.
Yeah.
And I think it's the Freddie Mercury song about who wants to live forever, and it was in Highlander and all that stuff. And that was in the mid '80s when I was actually young. I think
Same here.
we'd all like to be 20 forever.
Yeah.
Any much older than that, you're into the sort of the Who type of thing. I want to die before I get old. Isn't it still it's better to die before you get old, even now?
Well, it depends what your definition of old is, right? So
50.
If you okay, right, well, in that case, I'd be dead already. But the transition from having an elderly life, in other words, declining and death being signaled by progressive diseases and dribbling away in a nursing home plastic chair, and the anguished deathbed scenes with your relatives, if you have any, coming to hold your hand and mop your brow and asking where the will is. I think that's going to change, all right? And now we're looking at a hoped-for, welderly finale, and a finale that's going to be deferred for many, many years. So in a very brief nutshell, and I do believe this, and I've been researching this book for 6 months, and I've met with all the key opinion leaders, with the exception of one, in this field, is that lifespan for the average person has doubled in the last century. So it's gone from 41 years to about 83 in the developed world, all right? And it's very possible that in the next 20 years we could see it going up to 110, all right, which is based on existing technologies, not on genetic engineering or whatever. And at 110, you get to the point of actuarial escape velocity. It gives you enough time to live to the point where they can actually do something with the fundamental cell biology to keep people alive much, much longer. And that the oldest woman in the world, who died in 1998, Jeanne Calment, she died at 122 years old, having given up smoking at 117 years old. Her age...
That was the beginning of the end, obviously.
That was the beginning of the end. Her age, which has been, is by far the oldest recorded person in history, will be superseded by someone else. Someone who is alive today, who will live to over 150.
Yeah, but you talk about the technology there. I mean, we're not doing very well, really. I mean, I mean, talk about myself. Hair's gone. I'm wearing contact lenses because I can't see you properly. The hearing's a bit dodgy.
But that's all superficial.
But those are quite big quality of life. Aches and pains are starting to come in. The quality of life here. I mean, even at 50, you take it, but it's not being 20, and that it is it's the welderly, or you want to be healthy and feel good.
Yeah.
And those factors, we haven't really cracked them, have we?
Well, they're getting to the point of doing it, and if I just give you a few examples of how that can happen, there's a drug called metformin. Have you come across that drug?
Oh yeah, but I'd like to have some.
Right, okay, well you can go to your doctor and get it prescribed. Metformin is a drug for diabetics, and it was invented, or it came on the market in 1957. But they've observed empirically that people who take this live longer lives than people who don't. So type 2 diabetics who don't take it live 8 years less than the diabetics who do take it. And type 2 diabetics who normally die 14 years on average before the general population live as long, if they're on metformin, as the general population. So the first trial into a specific aging compound is about to happen in the United States, funded by the US government, the NIH. And it's 3,000 elderly people between 75 and 81 years old looking for improved mortality in the portion of the trial that is on metformin vis-a-vis those who are not on metformin, and we'll see how that pans out. But metformin, every single anti-aging researcher is on it, by the way. So 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams a day, take that.
Right. I mean,
right. That's just one example, and I could give you 20 other examples. And the combination of all those technologies is what's going to take us to 110. All right. And even you, Zach, you'll feel great. You'll look great. There are drugs for hair restoration, by the way, if you'd like to. I could write those. Right, okay. Right. No, actually, it's working, I think.
The point is that so much of our health is to do with emotional state, and also success in our career, etc. That it sounds like a bit of a double-edged sword, living for another 50 years, 60 years, 70 years on top of what you would normally expect. And isn't that the issue, of the real issue? I mean, if it works, if it's literally the classic thing of be careful what you wish for, because if it does work and we've got the population not dying, they'll be standing room only in London and major cities.
Well, it depends on what's coming to replace those who have died, all right? And you can see that fertility rate in women in the whole of the developed world, in some of the developing world, including China now, has fallen dramatically, such that populations are actually shrinking. So in Steffi's home country of Italy, the population is going to decline by 10 to 15%
Yeah, but
over the next
at the same time, they're also saying that country where people, they have a better kind of lifestyle, for instance, Italy or Greece, people live longer. So that may be down to the diet, maybe, to stress. I mean, do you think that's true? Or?
No, and actually it's not borne out by the figures. Italian life expectancy is the same as the UK life expectancy. The one which is amazing is the United States, where they live 2 years less than we do on average. And that is because of the inequality, the isolation and the loneliness of many people in America, and also the fact that a lot of them just don't have health insurance, despite
They
Obamacare.
also keep shooting each other, which is also quite a major statistical.
Yeah, but it's actually, and I'll tell you what's bigger than shooting now is the opioid prescription drugs, where 55,000 people died last year of overdosing on fentanyl or OxyContin and those sort of things, and it's just a mark of despair. And I just drove around the US, and in the middle of the country there's just like grinding poverty, and that's despite the fact they spend 1/5 of their GDP on so-called healthcare.
All right, so this is money lifestyle. I mean, should we be spending as much of our money as possible on all these lotions and potions?
Well, I think lotions and potions are a waste of time. Vitamin supplementation is a waste of time. All right. So what you need to do, first of all, if you want to get to that bridge, which is going to carry us for another, let's say, 30 years to the point of escape velocity, you need to do the bleeding obvious, right? So that is, don't smoke, drink something in moderation, because actually teetotalers live less long than people who drink in moderation. Moderation is a kind of yet to be defined, and eat vegetables in particular. Fruit's not so good for you, but vegetables are very, very good for you. And do some exercise. I mean, those are the kind of, and then lower, as you rightly pointed out, is like your stress level. Stress is very related to the pace of aging.
Do you wish that you'd been a doctor? You have you'd gone into that area.
I've got lots of doctors in my family, so I don't need to actually do the hard work of doctoring. They just tell me all about it.
Jim, how about how you look? I mean, people age and they get older. What's your thought about plastic surgery, botox?
Well, I haven't had it, but I'm always considering it. But I think that's just superficiality. I mean, that's not addressing fundamental aging. All right, but let me give you 2 further examples of technologies that are here now and are going to be quite revolutionary. One is stem cells, right? We've heard about stem cells for ages, but they are at the point now where they have rejuvenating properties and are now being introduced into the human body with significantly positive effects. That's one example. The second is we all have something within us called senescent cells. Do you know what those are?
No.
Right. They're cells that are neither living nor dead. So most cells in the body are pre-programmed to die, and then they're renewed, and that's called apoptosis. But senescence is the state in between. And when you get senescent cells, it's about 1% of all your cells, they infect using secretions, they infect the tissues around, and they cause a lot of inflammation. So arthritis, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, a lot of diseases are caused by these senescent cells. There are now drugs that can go in and target senescent cells and remove them from your body. All right, and they will be on the market in 5 to 10 years' time. They will make a very big difference the way you feel and your longevity. All right, that's one technology that's here.
How much does this technology cost?
Well, all new drugs when they come to the market are expensive. All right, which is why, you mentioned earlier on, the rich are the people who are going to benefit from this to begin with. But the great news is that because it takes so long to get drugs to market, and they only have a 20-year patent life, that situation will only last for about 10 years. So eventually they'll become generic, like metformin is, and then everyone can afford to have it. Whether they do it or not is another matter.
Thank you to Jim and to Steffi, and that was the first edition of Money Lifestyle. We'll see you next time.